Four Little Foxes by Lewis Sarrett.
Lewis Sarrett was a poet, lecturer, and teacher born in Chicago. He worked as a woodsman and a forest ranger, which influenced his nature poems. Sarrett became interested in nature and American Indian culture at an early age, and these interests are clearly reflected in his life and his poetry. The poem describes a very sad scene in the woods, wherein on a cold March morning, the speaker finds a dead vixen in a fox trap, with four cubs lying helplessly beside her. The cubs are so small that they have not even opened their eyes. When the speaker tries to shelter them using boughs of a tree, the foxes try and suckle his arm, thinking that the warmth is from their mother. As the speaker leaves with a very heavy heart, the cubs cuddle together in the freezing wind and rain. Through this entire narrative, the speaker pleads with different elements of nature to be kind to the poor, helpless foxes. The poet wants to shed light on how the thoughtless actions of man can have disastrous consequences for other creatures. He personifies different aspects of nature, asking them to show mercy on the cubs. In doing so, he makes us realize that he is looking for qualities of kindness and mercy in inanimate things because these qualities are absent in human beings. He repeats his request to the different elements at different tones. This repetition makes us understand the extent of the cruelty that the cubs have borne and the importance of ensuring that we are mindful of the way we interact with nature. Speak gently, spring, and make no sudden sound, for in my windy valley yesterday I found newborn foxes squirming on the ground. Speak gently. Walk softly, March, forbear the bitter blow. Her feet within a trap, her blood upon the snow. The four little foxes saw their mother go. Walk softly. Go lightly, spring, oh, give them no alarm, when I covered them with boughs to shelter them from harm. The thin blue foxes suckled at my arm. Go gently. Step softly, March, with your rampant hurricane, nuzzling one another and whimpering with pain. The new little foxes are shivering in the rain. Step softly. So, children, moving on to the explanation of the poem. So, moving with the explanation of the first stanza. Speak gently, spring, and make no sudden sound, for in my windy valley yesterday I found newborn foxes squirming on the ground. Speak gently. While the poet was strolling a day before, he caught a glimpse of four delicate, hungry, and orphaned foxes in the wood. The cubs are huddled together, hungry, frightened, and shivering. He immediately became very protective about them. In Western countries, March is still cold and snowy, with heavy winds and sheet. The speaker in the poem pleads the early spring to come gently without making much noise because the fox cubs are wriggling on the ground helplessly. He makes an earnest request to nature to take all precautions to take care of these helpless little foxes. Walk softly, March, forbear the bitter blow. Her feet within a trap, her blood upon the snow. The little four foxes saw their mother go. Walk softly. So, first look into the difficult words here. Forbear means to patiently prevent yourself from doing something that shows kindness to others. Bitter blow here, it signifies the harsh climatic conditions in March due to snow. Now here, snow-covered ground and the chill winds make the survival of the cubs very challenging. The poet again pleads the March season to subside the severe cold for the well-being of the cubs. The poet observed the blood of their mother splattered over snow. This shows that the poor cubs have lost their mother too. After she got her feet trapped in snow, she mercilessly died, leaving the fate of the cubs on nature only. The poet's heart cried at the plight of the tiny, helpless cubs. Moving on to the third stanza. Go lightly, spring, oh, give them no alarm. When I covered them boughs to shelter them from harm, the thin blue foxes suckled at my arm. Go lightly. So boughs are basically branches of trees, thin branches. The poet earnestly wants cubs to survive, so he covers the little ones using branches of tree as shelter for them. He then requests nature to go light and not to alarm them with any more challenge. The line, "The thin blue foxes suckled at my arm," tells that the foxes mistook the speaker for their mother. They do so because previously their mother was their one source of warmth and comfort. So when the speaker tried to shelter them and keep them warm, they mistook him for their mother and started licking his fingers. Moving to the last stanza. Step softly, march, with your rampant hurricane, nuzzling one another and whimpering with pain. The new little foxes are shivering in the rain. Step softly. Rampant is when something that is bad and spreads in an uncontrolled manner, like we can talk about COVID also, that it was going rampant. Nuzzling is snuggling up or cuddling together when you come very close to each other. Whimper is to make a low whining and broken sound, generally out of pain. So in asking March to walk softly and step softly, the speaker is appealing to March to be gentle and show mercy on the fox cubs by holding back its cold, frosty winds and dangerous hurricanes. The speaker asks March to do these things because the fox cubs are lying alone in the freezing cold without any food or shelter. They keep their bodies warmer. They cuddle up on each other. Still, they are not able to escape the severe cold. The extremely weak and vulnerable cubs make low, broken noises out of pain as they cannot withstand the harsh climatic conditions. To make the matter worse, it occasionally rains also, and the cubs shiver and whimper with pain. So, the poet once again pleads the nature this season of March to go softly, step softly. So children, looking into the poetic devices used as we were going through the poem, the first thing is that when the description was going on, I could actually imagine the whole thing, the whole scene in my mind, right? So the most important poetic device used here is the visual imagery. We have already seen what is an image, visual imagery. So visual imagery is used to make the poem emotional. That is, when he talks about describing the climate and the cubs, like the windy valley, her feet within a trap, her blood upon the snow. I covered them with boughs of shelter to shelter them. The thin blue foxes suckled at my arm. My little foxes are shivering in the rain. Then we have the matching sound patterns also. We have the repetition like speak gently, walk softly, go lightly, step softly, which are used repetitively in all the 4 stanzas. Moving on to some more poetic devices used. Yes, the rhyming, we saw it throughout the poem. Sound, found, ground. Blow, snow, go. Alarm, harm. Hurricane, pain. Then we talk about the alliteration. Alliteration also we have seen what it means, but moving on to the alliteration, the definition. Alliteration is the repetition of usually initial consonant sound in 2 or more neighboring words in a sentence. Okay, so here we can see when it says sudden sound, windy valley. Now see, W and V, but when we pronounce it is the same consonant, right? Bitter blow, step softly, whimpering with, step softly. So again, we see the work of alliteration here. Then irony. Irony is when something is not expected and it happens, right? So irony in the poem is that though spring is usually heralded with joy as a season of rebirth, but here it is a sad season of death for the mother fox and probably for the babies too. So that's all with the poetic devices. Thank you, children.